have made it to our second show, and you know what? That's half the battle. We've got a fun show on tap for you today, the latest men's basketball news. Mike Neighbors going to join us in studio as well, and it's Women and Girls Day in Sports. So much more to talk about. Thank you for joining us. If you watched us last week, thank you. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We're happy that you're here. I'm Alyssa Orange. Courtney Mims and Mike Irwin going to join me here in just a bit. Devo Davis, he is back with the men's basketball team after being away from the program since January 27th. Eric Musselman making that announcement on his radio show on Monday. Here's more from Muss and Tremont Mark on the return of Devo.
Even though he was not there, they still felt like he was part of the ball team.
Yeah, he was communicating with them. Danielle, my wife, was texting with Devo, and we were in communication with his grandmother. We were in communication with his mother.
It was good seeing Devo back. I kind of went into the gym around 11, and he was already in there. He already had a sweat, worked out, got some shots up. So it was good. Devo works hard. I know him stepping away was kind of shaky for the team, but when he came back and practiced with energy like he always does.
And that's good to hear, guys, as we bring in Mike Irwin and Courtney Mims as promised. Words like AWOL, quitter, abandon, all that kind of stuff were words that were used when Devo left. And we don't know a lot of these details. We don't know the specifics about what's happened and why he came back. There are Arkansas fans who are happy. Guys, there are Arkansas fans who aren't happy. And I think I wanted to save this so we could talk freely about it today I'm happy that Devo's back. I have seen what he's done for this program. I know what it means to wear that Razorback across his chest. I'm happy he's here. But then you also have to look at the other side of that coin, and what does it do to this locker room? They played 3 games without him, and that's where I'm worried as does this dynamic inside this locker room change at all or get better or get worse, or what's going to happen here?
That's exactly why I was so torn when I heard this news, because the coach's kid in me was like, what kind of precedent does this set? Obviously, it happened last season, and we saw his return, and I'm going to go into kind of what happened last season stat-wise in just a second, but we kind of saw the effect of what it had on the team last year. That was a different team. We have no idea what this return could, how it can affect the locker room. But we do know that his teammates posted support of him on their Instagram, on their social media accounts, that they seemed to be okay with that he needed to step away.
Yeah.
The press release, we talked about it on this show, that they left it open-ended for him to make a return. A lot of people have asked the question, what does it mean? Well, I kind of thought, let me go look back at what happened when he left last time.
Yeah.
I'm going to put on my little stat glasses here.
Glasses, because we got to get the numbers.
My numbers here. Okay, so here's what I looked up, because I really did want to see what he was doing before he left last year and then what he did when he came back. And so here's the numbers for anyone who's curious. Devo, before he left last season, he averaged 8.5 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, and just over 1 steal. He then came back, and I took a look at how those numbers were affected by his return. Well, he played a lot better, obviously. He had much bigger of a sample size because he came back and he returned during SEC play. But he averaged almost 13 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and over 1 steal. So the steals being the same number kind of stat-wise here. That was last year.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the stats. It's more of just the attitude and the environment, because there's already stuff going on with this team in the win-losses column. Like you kind of said, the precedent thing, Mike, is really what I'm looking at, is exactly where does this impact this team?
How much more damage can you do to this team? They're in bad shape as it is. I don't see this causing a big problem. Maybe it will. But if they were up there second or third place in the league, you might say, oh, he would be a problem coming back to the team now. I just don't think that'll happen. The bottom line is, I've got enough faith in Eric Musselman, who's done this long enough to know that if he says it's okay, then it's okay. And obviously he wouldn't do that if the players didn't think it was okay. So whatever is going on with Devo, they understand it, and I think they'll welcome him back. And I just don't see that there's a problem. And if there is a problem, how much worse can it be?
We'll see. And look, there are rumors galore right now. There are things that are being said that it was this year, it was this last year. It's kind of been enough. I'm ready to just wipe the slate clean with the rumors, with the love triangle, with whatever is out there on Twitter today that the rumor band has got going on. I think it's time for all of this to end. Devo is back. Let's put it to rest. Let's see what this men's basketball team does after a week off. We're going to see. It'll be interesting to see what Saturday looks like from a lineup standpoint and from a dynamic standpoint. We're going to talk more basketball after this. Mike Neighbors joining us in studio earlier this week to talk about the women and the Grammys. He's a music guy. That's next. Welcome back to PTN Extra. Alyssa Orange alongside Mike Neighbors, and let's get ready as we get closer and closer to the postseason for you guys. This is that kind of the year where you really want your team to hit their stride heading into March. You guys just got off 2 games against Auburn and Alabama, and kind of dissect where you are right now as a team.
We broke it into stages this year. We've kind of had a little NASA theme going, so this is stage 5 of the mission. And it was just this little stretch of games against people that we were really close to in the standings. You mentioned Alabama, you mentioned Auburn, now we got Florida. You know, we had Missouri on the back end of that. So there's all these games right there. So, yeah, a really important time to kind of create a little separation in the middle of the pack. You know, our league has kind of separated itself at the top, and then there's just a bunch of us right there. So, yeah, we'd love to start peaking at the right time and start playing our best basketball right now and then keep it going on into the tournament.
Do you think Talia's finally maybe got that confidence back? I mean, she saw 17 points drop in the third period against Auburn, and it felt like she just needed to see the ball go in the basket a couple times.
Yeah, it's timing, you know, and we talked to her about, you know, during the timeout. During the summer, we had our foreign trip, and we had exhibition games, and we had all that practice time. This is now back from, you know, she had a chance to ramp up. Now, this is like going from 0 to 100 really quick. And then you go up against Alabama and you go up against Auburn, who have really physical guards. So, yeah, I think it was a timing thing. She's never going to be lacking of confidence. I think it's a timing and a sense of how it flows with the rest of her teammates. But you could obviously see it starting to come together in practice, and then obviously in the third quarter it just kind of busted loose yesterday.
It was good to see that happen, but I think we go back to Samara Spencer being the person you want with the ball in her hands at the end when you needed it. And Sam has so much experience now as a junior that she knows exactly what needs to be done in those moments.
Yeah, there's a difference between being clutch and not being. You know, I've coached some great players that weren't very clutch. Sam's clutch. She does want it. She makes good decisions at that point in time, and it's, you know, I don't know even after 30 years that I can tell you what makes a kid have that, but it is, you know it when you see it. She has it, and after Talia had kind of opened those things up, and that drive to the basket, that and one was about as big a play as, you know, we've had in a few years. So, yeah, you want a player like that does want the ball, you know, and it's good to have players that want to make the cut to get them open and make the pass to get them open. You don't want 5 people that all want the ball, so it's good to have one. You don't want to have 5.
Yeah, you know, one thing about Sam, and I want to ask her this if I ever get the chance, she has a very unique way that she shoots free throws, and it's what she steps into the pass from the official and shoots. She doesn't dribble, she doesn't take a second, and the more and more I watch her, it's a tick. It's like one full movement with her.
Did you catch, there was a game a couple of games ago where the ref threw it poorly to her. She threw it back to him, and like it shocked me. It was like, wait, what are we doing here? But I was like, hey, she's got this thing. It all started last year.
Okay.
She was a really good free throw shooter as a freshman, and she went into this, there's no other word for it but the yips. Any golfer can tell you what that feels like that's played. She had them, and she didn't want to get fouled. And that was a problem because she was so good at drawing fouls because she didn't want to go up there and shoot them. So one day she decided, I want to shoot it more like my jump shot. I just want to catch it and shoot it. And yeah, it catches people off guard the first couple times that they see it.
Yeah, you're used to people kind of taking their time, breathing. Sam doesn't take any time. She just steps right into it and shoots it, and she's had a lot of success with it as well.
Has.
And I know that Michaela's coming around too. Michaela used to be so clutch with her free throw shooting, and you've talked about her just getting that confidence back at the line.
Yeah, she's so hard on herself. There's nothing a coach, anybody could ever say to her that's going to make her concentrate more than she does. So sometimes she gets in her own head a little bit. And like last night we were pulling kids off the foul line to get ready for defense, and she was like, send somebody up here. I'll shoot better when there's somebody up there. And then she missed 2 after we did that. So I said, well, you're on your own for now. But Yeah, I'm still very confident when I see her step up there because I know that moment's never going to be too big for her either.
Well, we'll see how it all goes and how it all works out, but it's been fun to watch the women's game. By the way, if you haven't been out to a women's game, go to one, and we've got the women's luncheon as well, second Tuesday of every month. I think it's coming up this upcoming Tuesday, right?
I looked at my schedule just yesterday. I think it may be the next one, but I'm not sure. We'll have to go back and check.
Come hang out with us at Mermaids at one of those. All right, before we have you leave, Grammys, Sunday night.
Oh, wow.
Did you watch it?
I watched highlights.
Okay.
We played at 5.
Right.
So our post game, by the time we get home and get the boys in the bath and all the different things we have to do, I got a text that said, you got to start watching. Tracy Chapman and Luke Combs are coming on, and I've loved both songs. And man, that was going in. I was looking at my list today. That's going in one of my top 5 Grammy performances of all time. It was really powerful.
Chills.
Yeah, just even thinking about it.
Watching it live. And they cut from Luke Combs just talking about the song and why he wanted to record it to Tracy's hands on the guitar. And then I'm like, they better have her. I go, oh my God, that is her. And it's like, whoo, chills.
Yeah,
and it was amazing.
I didn't realize she had really stopped performing that song live until I went back, and you could just tell by, the tears in her eyes how powerful it was. But I love Grammy moments, and I'm gonna have to go back. That's gonna be up there pretty high.
Yeah. This morning on Twitter, I was like, let's keep the Tracy Chapman love going.
I
posted the Give Me One Reason. I was like, this song also great.
Yeah,
so
really
it was
good.
really cool.
Really good.
And then they made me stay up way too long to watch Billy Joel.
Oh, well.
How about that?
I kept hearing about him, how late it's going to go. I haven't seen the clip from it, but I will. I'll be like watching it on the replays.
It was a lot of fun. I'm a Billy Joel fan. Got to see him over the summer in Kansas City.
Powerful.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. You're a lot of fun. Thanks for coming to the studio with us.
Thanks for having us.
Hanging out. More PTN Extra after this. Welcome back, and happy National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Arkansas celebrating with a clinic on Sunday, pouring into this next generation. That's what this is about, being role models for those younger than us, those who did it before us. It's a special day, specifically for myself and for Courtney, as we look ahead on what we've been through, people we've looked up on, people we've interacted with in this business, and how far women have come in this business. I have a story, and I share this with anyone who always asks and want to talk about, why I got into this business and any adversity that you've gone through. And this was just a story. My news director in Tallahassee sat me down and said, look, you are going to have to be on your game all the time. You could be reading a highlight and make a mistake and a mispronunciation. A man could be doing the same thing, make that same mistake. People at home will say, oh, we get what he meant. And if it's you, I get phone calls saying, take that stupid girl off of my television. I mean, that was told to me in 2009. And I still remember it, X amount of years later. And I just remember having to work that much harder. Luckily, women are so much more well-respected now than maybe in 2009, and we've come a long way. But I always think about that point and remembering, it was a scary story, but I think he was trying to just set me up to be like, look, you deserve to be here just like everybody else, but remember there's still going to be some challenges.
Yeah, I think absolutely that's a great story. And the funny thing is that you heard that story in 2009. I heard that same story in 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, so that shows how it's resonated until for 10 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unfortunately what women have to do in this business. I do think it's gotten a lot better, though, because I even look at Arkansas fans, and when we get up on the airwaves and how they're like, oh, we love seeing you and Alyssa. And I'm like, oh, that's great, right? That shows how far we've come. I have a small little story I'd love to share with you. But when I was in college, we had a professor that if you wanted to do sports, you had to come into their office, kind of talk about the sports track and all of this. And he sat the boys down and he just said, oh, what'd you play in high school and blah, blah, blah. He sat the girls down. He gave you a 50-question quiz.
Ooh.
And I was like, this isn't fair. Why is he doing this? And obviously nowadays that is not acceptable. But he was doing it to try and weed out the girls that weren't really in it with their hearts. And I said, that's just not fair. Because I know plenty of guys who just walked in there and probably couldn't answer 40 questions on that quiz. But he put you through just kind of a different kind of mindset. And that to me showed me, whoa, we're still in 2018 and we haven't taken much steps from what 2009.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So.
But we really have. And we work with a lot of wonderful women in this business. And we also have wonderful coaches who raise wonderful kids who understand the value of women in sports. And I think Matt Michael, a story that we did in our sports special for softball, and he's the assistant coach, has 2 young boys, and a really cool story he shared with us when we talked to him about his son Hudson.
We have the boys in school, and one of the things they love the most is having like the players come and read in class, right? And my oldest Hudson, I think it was when he was in 3rd grade, we had a group of 4 come in and read. And at the end of the reading process, there's just a question and answer period, and a little boy in the class asked a question about softball, and isn't it true that it's like not as hard as baseball? And of course, our players were getting ready to artfully answer that question like they have to answer it so frequently. And instantly Hudson like piped in and just instantly shot it down. Shot down every stereotype about women's athletics, every stereotype about softball. So even at like an 8-year-old, 9-year-old level, instantly there was no glass ceiling in his mind for what they were doing, and he was trying to smash glass ceilings amongst his 9-year-old male classmates at that point. It was just one of those things like, man, he's only 9, but this is the effect that he's having and the effect that he gets a chance to make on people that are around him.
Really cool story that he shared there. And again, that's happening everywhere, and it's cool. You see the attendance at gymnastics, women's basketball, softball, all of these sports that are empowering women, and you love to see that. So happy Girls and Women's in Sports Day to everybody. Coming up after the break, Dre Greenlaw, Super Bowl, excited for Sunday. That's next. Okay, welcome back. Last week we celebrated with cake. I don't have any cake today, but we are still celebrating. 2 former Razorbacks and Brandon Allen and Dre Greenlaw playing in the Super Bowl in Las Vegas on Sunday. Both guys are also former Fayetteville Bulldogs as well. Here's Dre from earlier this week at Media Night.
It's not really a moment or a play, or at least it was not a particular play. I felt like it was a moment. I can kind of feel the energy of the team shift a little bit. But honestly, it's so hard to kind of remember. I just remember losing the game, you know what I mean? So that's the most important part, is we lost the game, and I just remember how that feels. So.
That was Dre talking about the last time he was in the Super Bowl playing the Chiefs. They lost that game and hoping for a different outcome. So best of luck to Dre, Brandon, and the 49ers. And if you're a Chiefs fan, well, best of luck to you. That's going to do it for this week. We'll see you next week for PTN Extra.